Time to add some color to our awesome monster wall pocket sculptures. We're going to be painting our sculptures with acrylic paint today, shimmery or metallic paint, that is. First of all, we hold our paintbrush correctly. We hold it by the handle near the silver part, right behind the silver part. Not at the top or the middle, but right behind the silver part. That's correct. Now, we're going to be using some different colored metallic paints to paint our monster sculpture. When you're using the paint brushes, make sure you pick the paintbrush that is right for the job. For big areas, use the bigger brush. For smaller details or tight spaces, use the smaller brush. I'm painting right now over the cracks or actually the texture of my clay. So make sure you get in and paint all of the white spots as best as you can. You can paint your monster with 2 different paints, just one color if you like, or you can use all the colors to make it super colorful. When you're painting, make sure that your brush stays pointed like a ballerina's tippy toes. Do not mash your brush down like a ballerina scooting on her bottom, because that is the booty scooting ballet, and we want to keep our brush bristles nice and pointed the entire time to keep our brushes working nicely for us for years to come. Right now, I'm painting the background or the face. You may choose to paint the smaller areas first, or you can work on the big areas. It's up to you. Keep in mind that you're going to have to pick up your sculpture and turn it different ways at different angles so that you can paint everything on the front and the sides. We're not going to worry about painting the back, but make sure you paint the sides. Go very carefully around all the shapes, and if you need to paint a shape next door to paint that's wet, you might want to wait a little bit for it to dry. It does dry pretty quickly, but if you come back later, it'll be easier to paint colors that are next door so that your paint does not mix together. When you're picking your sculpture up, be careful that you don't drop it because it still could break. Notice that the clay is white now. After it came out of the kiln, it changed the color from gray to white. When you're painting the pocket or the mouth, just paint as much as you can and just look inside the mouth and just see if you need to paint any spots on the inside. When you're switching colors, you scrub the bottom of the water container, and then you wipe on dirty old SpongeBob. I like to do this a couple of times because this paint is really stubborn. Make sure your brush is clean before choosing another color. I know that you saw I got turquoise on my tooth. I'm going to let it dry and then I can paint over it. Sometimes that happens. Painting my bow tie a different color than I painted my face. Remember, you can choose different colors, or you can paint the whole thing one color or 2 colors. You get to decide. Cleaning my brush again before I switch colors. Later, I'm going to show you the back of the sculpture. Do not paint the back. We don't need to paint the back because these are going to be wall pockets. They are going to hang on the wall and no one's going to look at the back. That's where your initials are. We don't want to paint the back, but we want to paint everything else. All right, I'm going to finish painting at super speed. You take it down a notch, paint slowly and carefully, and I cannot wait to see your finished monster sculptures. Now I'm going over some finishing touches. You might want to do this after everything else is dry. Any little tiny pieces of white clay that I see, I'm using a teeny tiny brush to paint as much as I can. The very last step that I'm going to do is to make sure that your clay has an antique look. Notice this one, I can still see some white spaces no matter how much I try. So now I'm going to give your clay a bath, not that kind of bath, this kind of bath. This bowl is filled with black ink or India ink and water. I'm going to dunk your sculpture in it. Don't worry, you'll still be able to see your beautiful metallic paint. After I dunk it, I'm going to shake it off, wipe off any puddles that have collected on your sculpture, and let it dry. What this does is it covers up all those little tiny white specks that you couldn't get to and gives your clay an antique finish. Make sure you paint as much as possible today, though, so that you won't have a ton of white spots. I can't wait to see these. Let's complete the final step and prepare our sculpture for hanging using wires and beads. The first step would be to choose your color wire. These are called twisties. They are wires that can bend easily, and you can bend them into any shape you'd like. Your color wire can match your monster paint, but it doesn't have to, okay? So choose one that's available, that's a color that you like, and then you're gonna find the 2 holes at the top of your monster that we made at the beginning of our project. I want you to put the wires through one of the holes. I'm using the right side first, and I'm putting the holes through the front. Do not put the holes through the back. Put them through the front, please. And then you're going to pull from the back a little bit, and you need to pull it a little bit whenever you think there's enough that this will twist around the longer one. That's about how much you need to pull. Let me show you. After you pull a little bit from the back, you're gonna bend the front. So they're both like bending together. One is way shorter than the other. And the one in the back, you need to wrap it or curl it around the long one. About 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 if you have room. But you don't wanna pull out the back too much because you wanna have this piece long enough to curl it around and do the same thing on this side, okay? So twist it around a few times. Now, if you have something right here that's in the way, like horns or ears or maybe some hair or a crown or something you attach to the top of your monster, your wire might not be able to twist right here. So if that happens, you're just gonna pull your wire to the side and twist it from the side, okay? Let me show you that real quick. So if you have something that's right here, I do not right now, but if you do, you're just gonna pull everything to the side and twist it around, okay? So just wherever your wire fits is where you're gonna twist it around. And that way, when it hangs, it will not, the wire will stay secure and it won't fall, okay? It won't fall through. Now, if you want to add beads to your monster sculpture, now is the time. Your limit is gonna be 4, so you can add 1 bead, 2 beads, 3, 4, or none, okay? They can match your monster, they don't have to. It can be a pattern, it doesn't have to be. It can be any random ones you want, but 4 is gonna be the limit. And then just let them fall. You wanna do them now before you put this in your second hole. You have to put the beads because then it'll be too late if you don't, okay? Now, let them fall wherever they fall all the way here so you can work with this side, and then later you can adjust your beads. All right, so now we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna push it through the front. If your clay is kind of, if your hole's obstructed or it's not going through with the wire, just kind of wiggle it a little bit until it goes through, okay? And then you're just gonna check out the back, pull out a little bit, enough for you to bend it and curl it around the front about 2 or 3 times, okay? So bend them together. And if this side was shorter than that side, it's okay. And then you're just gonna wrap it or twist it around as many times as you can. And make sure that the very edge, you really bend that last piece so it doesn't stick out and poke someone, okay? There we go. Now you can move your beads around. You can make them balanced, 2 on one side, 2 on the other, or any way you want. Now you can hang your sculpture from a nail or a hook anywhere. You can even save it for Christmas time and hang it from your Christmas tree. And the cool thing about it is that now you have these pockets where you can put your most prized possessions like money or jewelry or anything that's important to you that'll hang from that'll fit in that pocket. You can hang it up. I had so much fun making these with you. I can't wait to hear how you're going to use these at home and hang them and put your important things inside.